You like the Predator movies? Their early work was a little too classic movie monster for my taste. But when Predator 2 came out in 1990, I think they really came into their own, commercially and artistically. The whole film has a clear, crisp vision, and a new arsenal of alien weaponry that really gives the city hunter a big boost. They've been compared to Alien, but I think Predator has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor. In 22, Trachtenberg released this, Prey, their most accomplished film. I think its undisputed masterpiece is the feral predator, a pred so badass, most people probably don't even think about the symbolism. But they should, because it's not just about the menace of an alien hunter who can turn invisible, it's also a commentary about American colonialism. Hey Shane! Ah! So here's the thing. I am documented as a huge Predator fan. About a year ago, I released a video on the mainline Predator franchise, an examination of 1987's Predator, 1990's Predator 2, 2010's Predators, and 2018's The Predator, to see why Predator movies work, where they falter, and where they succeed, and what the formula is for a good Predator movie. I concluded that the best follow-up to the original Predator was, in fact, the video game Predator Hunting Grounds. And sure, that was mostly just an excuse for me to talk about a game I really liked, but it was also due to the way it encapsulated what made the original film dope as shit in a way that the sequels more or less failed to. But now we have Prey. And guys, I might just have a new favorite Predator movie. First of all, I highly recommend you watch my video on the other Predator films, as it's both really good and very lonely. Also, just so you can understand what makes a good Pred flick in my eyes. If you don't have time to watch a half-hour video, which is completely understandable, here's the short version. In my eyes, a good Predator movie consists of two things: a cunning, engaged, focused Predator with a killer arsenal, and compelling prey for him to hunt who primarily guides the narrative, mostly in a push-and-pull kind of way with the Pred. Usually there is a sort of X factor to both of these things in the sequels, such as the massive additions to Predator lore and establishing the culture that Predator 2 makes, or how Predators uses the characters and situation to have a few philosophical musings. So let's examine how Prey holds up with these criteria in mind. First, let's talk about Naru. She's a great protagonist, it's that simple. I genuinely could not care less if you disagree, primarily because I have not seen a single criticism of this character that I believe is valid, because they all amount to those two magical little words: Mary Sue. And just so you fuckers can't tell me I don't know what it means, let's turn to Oxford, shall we? A type of female character who is depicted as unrealistically lacking in flaws or weaknesses. And Naru does have weaknesses. She's a little headstrong and is overly confident to the point that she fails multiple times at fairly simple tasks, such as busting her ass when fighting the lion or getting her bowstring wet when she's hunting the bear, something she was aware of as an issue and forgot about because, again, she's too cocky. But it's not entirely misplaced, as her plan works with the lion, and her traps work with the feral predator. And let's talk about the trap thing, because there's this seeming consensus online among those people, you know who you are, that a group of commandos with modern weapons couldn't beat this thing, but one woman with rudimentary traps made out of shit in the forest could. And this is factual, but it's not the gotcha that you think it is. Because the point in the first movie is that guns aren't getting anyone anywhere, and Dutch defeats the predator with, wait for it, rudimentary traps made out of shit in the jungle. And if you want to talk about why Naru is good at hunting and claim that it's unrealistic, I don't even need to say you didn't watch the movie, because I can glean why she's good from the trailer.
Why do you want to hunt? Because you all think that I can't.
I.e., when you want to do something, you get good at that thing, especially when you're doing it partially out of spite for those who doubt you. It's not fucking rocket science. And here's the thing here, I presented all the shit that makes Naru great simply as counter-arguments to why she's not. The only other factor is that Amber Midthunder, aka Miss Coolest Name Ever, is really fucking good in this role and plays Naru with the exact amount of conviction that the role requires. And at this point, if you don't think Naru is a great character, I don't know what to tell you. Actually, wait, I do know what to tell you. Stop hating just because she's a woman of color. Also, if you want to deny that it has anything to do with her race or gender, then you have to renounce Alien and Terminator, because all your criticisms, God, I can't say that condescendingly enough, criticisms of Naru apply to Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. Anyways, let's talk about the feral predator, which has gotta be an A-tier pred name at minimum. Hot take, I think the feral predator is the best depiction of the predator ever. I think he's better than the jungle hunter, city hunter, falconer, tracker, Mr. Black, the captured, the fugitive, and the assassin. I can't speak on Celtic, Chopper, Scar, Wolf because I haven't seen the AVP movies yet, and Greyback doesn't really count because he's just really there to look cool. But still, feral is the best predator because Dan Trachtenberg and his team understood what made the original and all the others great and what could be improved, even from the worse off preds. Like, we all agree the fully CGI Super Pred is terrible, and that suits are 100% the way to go when bringing these bad boys to life. But Dan Trachtenberg also knew that a CG Predator can afford you mobility and ferocity that a stunt actor in a suit might not be able to, so he utilized it when he deemed it appropriate. The weapons, Jesus H. Christ, the weapons. The biomask that's made out of bones, it's just so fucking cool. Partly because it's the only one that lets the mandibles loose, partly because the guy who designed it confirmed that this specific subspecies of Yautja has heat-sensitive organs in its head which interface with the mask for enhanced thermal vision. The bone design isn't just a cool look, it's also a cultural statement from this specific subspecies. Okay, I'm gonna stop bloviating about the mask and I want to talk about the arsenal. A good chunk of Feral's arsenal consists of new spins on old classics. The net gun here serves the same purpose as what I would consider the modern day net gun. Fires a wire net, constricts until the opponent turns into tiny edible meat cubes. But this one doesn't tighten based on its endpoints retracting to a flat surface, it retracts on some sort of containment unit. It also isn't fired by a gun, it's thrown. The plasma caster doesn't exist yet, so it uses a handheld spear gun that interfaces with the biomass targeting system, something Naru exploits to kill the ugly motherfucker. The wrist blades look a lot fiercer and more crude than previous ones, which makes sense. And of course, the med kit. Every Predator movie needs the med kit. And that's not even accounting for the wholly new additions like the Percy Jackson-ass shield that Feral comes with, which leads to some of the more creative kills of the whole affair. I'd also like to draw attention to what I initially assumed was a combo stick since it shares some similarities being a collapsible sharp weapon, but then it looks like he separates it into a sword and some kind of axe or something, I'm not quite sure. But whatever it is, it's fucking dope. I honestly don't even know what this thing that replaces the wrist bomb does, and I'm not even sure that I want to know. I just know that it's fucking awesome, and it terrifies me. Oh, and let's not forget the slap bracelet of death, perfect for cutting through bear traps and amputating legs. Yes, I know it's called the cut clamp, but I like my name better. Hell, even the cloak sees a slight adjustment, with the red edges to the effect and what seems to be a little bit more glitchiness to it when taking damage. Oh, hey, Editing Steve here. I needed to insert this because it occurred to me after I had already recorded this that I spent so long harping on something in the original Predator video and I didn't include it here. So I have to mention that Prey did a really cool thing, because remember how I said that in the original video that the Predator franchise lives and dies by 7 words?
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah, they did that. So yeah, dope arsenal used by a dope Predator who's more aggressive, fast, and strong than ever, but by far the best thing that this Predator has going for him is how he interacts with his prey. So let's ask a question. What are the Predator movies about? At their worst, Predator movies are about nothing. Actually, no, at their worst, Predator movies are about why autism is a superpower. Think about that for 5 minutes and tell me you don't want to walk into the ocean. So let's reframe the discussion. What is the difference between Predator and Prey? In the original film, there is an underlying theme of American imperialism. A bunch of US operatives invade a foreign land and absolutely wreck shop. The jungle hunter wrecks them back. Hell, before they even know what's attacking them, they comment that it's almost as if the jungle has come alive and taken them. Indeed. Predator 2 creates an urban environment that's indistinguishable from a war zone, and at first treats the deaths that the city hunter perpetrates as a casualty of this crime war, and it almost treats them apathetically. And even though, even in this semi-future that Predator 2 exists in, you can't look at it without going, damn dog, the government should have stepped in by now. It's only after the government suspects alien interference that they step in, creating this wonderful little commentary that the United States government only steps in when it's in their best interest to do so, not really for the support of the people who need it, the people that they claim to be there to support. And in Predators, we're actively shown that the human characters are all killers, most of whom are doing so for the bad reasons, and it's because of this that the hunting party chooses them. causing them to question their own self-worth as human beings when faced with literal monsters who honestly share very few moral differences. So if you were to ask the only 3 Predator movies that mattered, what's the difference between Predator and Prey, the answer would be not much. If anything, all 3 Predator movies portray the arrival of the Predator as kind of a good thing. The Jungle Hunter is a spirit of vengeance, wreaking his bloody justice on commandos who were, though unwittingly, sent in to be a hit squad. The City Hunter is a call to action for the government to step in and assist a city that reasonably needs government assistance, lest they be destroyed in a streetwise civil war. The Hunting Party acts as judge, jury, and ugly motherfucking executioner to a group of some of the most reprehensible people on Earth. So, cynical take, the Predators are the good guys and the humans are the bad guys. And then comes Prey, a movie that seems to fundamentally understand what makes this franchise interesting. And it takes the first movie and kind of flips it on its head. Prey shows a people that would soon become victims of colonialism and demonstrates those effects. The way the film suggests that the buffalo was skinned by the feral predator only to reveal that it was the motherfucking French is such a fun little twist. Especially if you're someone who is both familiar with American history and predator hunting practices enough to see it coming. But making the main character a member of people who infamously fell victim to colonialism completely reframes those sub-themes of colonialism in the first movie. The Predator here goes from an avenger of colonialism to a perpetrator of it, and it fucking rules. It's like poetry, sort of, they rhyme. Our protagonist is punching up from the very beginning straight to the end for the first time in the entire franchise. And I'm not just talking about the physicality, I mean that Naru is the first time a human protagonist can ask, why me, and have a solid justification to say, no, not me. So I ask again, what's the difference between Predator and Prey? It's that Predators punch down, and that Prey, that Naru, always punches up. Special thanks to my buddy Omar for donating to the $10 tier on my Patreon. If you want to help out, you can support the channel with the link below, starting as little as $3 a month. It really helps me out, especially since I'm going to be ending college soon, which means I might not have access to Premiere Pro, so that'll be fun. So yeah, go ahead, use the Patreon link in the description. Again, I really appreciate it, and you get all sorts of like little benefits. I never mentioned that there are actually benefits to supporting me on Patreon. Including that if you don't support me on Patreon, I am hunting you down and mounting your spine and skull on my wall.